Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I am your host, Professor Jeremy Vilmur, and joining us now, Arn Anderson's favorite enhancement talent, Double B, Bobby Blaze.
Oh, thank you, Professor, for that great introduction. That's right, Double B's back on the mic again today. I'm going to tell you, man, we don't want any feuding or fussing over this. That was the headline, okay?
Okay.
We don't want any feuding or fussing over this. So you've heard of the Hatfield-McCoys, I've heard. I take it.
Certainly have, yes.
Well, they're back in the news again here.
Oh, good God.
Yep. Pike County, Kentucky, on the Hog Trail in 1873, of course, way back when, Rudolph McCoy brought up charges against Floyd Hatfield over pigs. And here it is 150-some years later, and this guy's name, he's a descendant of the Hatfields. His name's Bob Scott, and he said, "It's been pig-napped." Well, it's a small ceramic pig statue, but I guess for years to sit down there on the cabin in Pike County to the trail. It's the Hog Trail cabin, and someone has stolen their pig. But they don't want any fighting or pussing or feuding this time. I just want to let you know about that, man. The Hatfield McCoys are still going at it. Someone stole this ceramic pig, man, here in Kentucky, of all places. Like I said, Pike County about 2 hours from me. So, well, technically it's about an hour and a half, but it's so damn big it could be 4 hours away, too. Depending on what end you go to. It's a pretty big county. I thought I'd share that with you because, we're kind of going back in time this week, but we're not going as far back as 1873. We're going to go back to 1986. That caught my eye. I thought something goofy that's still going on today, So, anyway,
that's
bring that pig back.
Yeah. Somebody give them their pig back.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, man. How you been, Professor?
Oh, I've been okay. Fairly. It's still kind of getting used to living life as it was before COVID happened. Like I went and tried out a new brewery yesterday with a buddy of mine and went out and had lunch, and it's just
nice.
You feel kind of odd doing it, and because I'm not wearing a mask everywhere I go because I'm vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
So if I walk into a place and nobody's wearing a mask, I'm not wearing one. And somebody took this as a sign of me being some like anti-masker fucking science denier type yesterday. And I'm like, no. And kind of launched into a short little fucking barb. And then I realized, dude, you've been out of the house once in a year. Quit being a dick. And I let it go.
There you go.
Yeah. How about you?
I went a couple places and didn't have a mask on. No one else had one on. I'd been vaccinated. It was somewhere I needed to be, and it worked out fine. I felt a bit naked, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But here, when I went through the store, there's two stores. They just, in my immediate neighborhood here, that I think it was on Friday morning, I guess it was. They took their mask mandate down off the doors. Just grocery stores, both of them. So, anyway, some people are still wearing them in the store and some aren't,
Yeah.
So it's, I almost feel naked a little bit, man. My face is kind of like broken out a little bit, and I was kind of covering it with the mask, but I think the mask was part of aggravating it too, just from wearing it all that time.
No, I think so, because I've noticed that like around my nose and kind of like where the edge of it sits, that like your skin's just like a little rougher or broken out in spots.
My nose a little bit drier and stuff, but I think now, I've been getting out feeding some birds every day around 5 o'clock in my yard that happen to frequent. I have a couple bird feeders out, and I'm really enjoying that. I'm trying to get a little bit of sun there and hopes to, just to maybe use some moisturizer or something now around that area. But seems like we're kind of getting back to normal after all this bullshit.
Yeah,
so.
It's I look forward to it. I really just want the partisan horse shit to stop.
Yeah.
I just want, fucking everybody, your grown-ups, fucking do what you know you need to do. Quit acting like it's some fucking concentration camp you're being put into,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a little weird. It's like going out without wearing underwear. You just, you feel like something's missing even though it doesn't really matter,
Yep. Talk about last week's show there a little bit. Tell Nate I found his cousin.
Oh, Lordy.
She wasn't wearing a mask. She wasn't wearing much at all, to be honest with you. But I found her. No, it's good to have Nate from Wide Men Can't Jump on the podcast last week. We appreciate him taking the time out of his busy day to get on our podcast. That's all right.
Yeah, no, it was a nice conversation we had. I do have to tell you, I'd had that episode edited down to just over an hour, and then my save file was corrupt when I tried to upload it. And since I was out of time, so when I edit the show, what I do first is I get the sound balanced out, and then I go through and make cuts. So fortunately, I'd already had a file saved where the sound was balanced and the ends were clipped off, but I ended up with more in there than I wanted. I mean, not that any of it was bad.
Yeah.
It's just, it was a lot of behind baseball towards the end,
It still come off pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so.
I know we're on a time restriction here that we like to keep under on this program, and sometimes we go a little bit over it. I want to give a shout out to Robert Silva. I stand corrected. I appreciate that, Robert. He is he's a boxing
aficionado.
Yes, aficionado is what I was trying to spit out. Thank you. He's a well-rounded person. I brought up the Mike Tyson fight where he knocked out a guy from this local area, Big Sam Scaff, and I said it took place in England, and it got coverage in Sports Illustrated. I'm pretty sure Scaff must have got the fight over in England because I don't know where that come from. But anyway, Robert brought it to my attention that he was actually at the fight in New York at the Felt Forum. So I appreciate that. Anytime someone wants to fact check me, I'm fine with that because my memory sometimes doesn't serve me right. I know I did see it in the Sports Illustrated, and like I said, there was one Tyson's up and coming, early in his career, and that's pretty cool that he shared that with me or shared it with our fans even, So anyway, appreciate that, Robert. Appreciate you listening, man. We got a lot of good listeners out there to interact. Adam, of course.
Sean.
Sean, yeah. I think we're going to have some guests coming up in the future, and I know they listen to the program as well. One in particular, I'm wearing it. I know you can't see it behind the mic, but we've got Mike Mills coming on in the future, and I'm wearing a Booking a Territory T-shirt, the unprofessional wrestling podcast.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah, so he sent me that a couple years ago when I filled in on there for let's see, Mike and Doc and Hop. What's his name? Drawing a blank all of a sudden. Anyway, I filled in when he was doing some of the Smoky Mountain segments, and they gave me a shirt and. Harper, thank you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Harper. Anyway, I got to fill in on Smoky Mountain when they was winding that series down. And anyway, I'm proud to wear their shirt around, even though you can't see it, right now. That is what I'm wearing. So shout out to some of those good guys I've left. I don't want to leave anyone off. I know we've got some good listeners. Tim up there in Canada.
Got to
mention
Tim.
his name or he's going to fuck us on the Wonder Bars.
Yep.
So, anyway, let's move on here. Got one person that just want to go through this kind of quickly here. We had someone pass away this past week in the wrestling business at the age of 71. And that was Don Kernoodle. You want to talk a little bit about that there, Professor?
Yeah, I mean, just, Don Kernoodle is a name that I'm pretty sure most wrestling fans are familiar with, and definitely guys our age and up are familiar with. What I didn't know, and I came across the story, apparently his wrestling career started when he took the Bob Roop challenge. He got beaten by Bob Roop because fucking Bob Roop beats everybody almost, except William Harding.
There you go.
Yeah, but apparently Ole and Gene Anderson watched that and they liked Don Kernoodle and how he moved around in the ring, and they offered to train him. And I thought that was a really cool story because there's certainly worse things you can do than to get a pat on the back from the Andersons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure, man.
Did you hear about Ole's new website that he's doing?
No.
It's like a membership thing. It's called Ole Fans. I don't know what you get when you sign up, but I've been told not to look at the pictures. That's
OnlyFans. Oh man. Boom, boom.
Yep.
Okay, I'm not going to look at the picture. I'll just bring this up. I don't know how to even. I don't know if there's a segue for this, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to go ahead and just promote my books, then come back to it. I'm jumping down to books, okay?
All right.
We'll come back up to the top in a second. All right, listen, all right, folks. I'm still getting a snicker out of that. All right, so Professor has got it set up to where you can get either one of my books, both of them in hard copy. They are all available on ebook or download editions from Amazon. But if you'll go to tinyurl.com/blazebook1, that'll take you to the link to buy Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boostful Travel. The show gets a little bit of kickback if you use that website going that direction. It'll directly take you to Amazon. It's just a way for podcasts to get a little bit of affiliate money put back into the account. The second book, I kicked out on Tuesday, Educational Wrestler. You can get that by going to tinyurl.com/blazebook2. Again, both of those are available on Amazon. Just use one of those simple links I gave out, tinyurl.com/blazebook1 or tinyurl.com/blazebook2. And let's move a few books, people. Get you something to read this summer. You know, when the weather's changing, it's pretty outside. Buy one of these books and get you a fucking umbrella and sit out with your toes in the sand and a drink in your hand and read one of my books, man. I'd appreciate it very much. With that said, Professor, let's get back up to something a little bit more important than my books. But the books are important because they do help sponsor this show. We appreciate that. But so back to Don Canoodle. I'm sorry I didn't have a segue into that.
No, it's that was a weird spot for me to drop that, but it's the only opening I saw. Yeah,
it's okay. No, so apparently Canoodle passed away from a self-inflicted wound. I'm assuming gunshot wound when it's, it didn't go into great detail, but he was 71 years old and said he had been having some serious health issues. But you and I, as we've done plenty of times in the past in this program, we like to give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, or Lifeline rather. That's for any age. We kind of discussed off the air being 71 in poor health. Maybe that's his decision. I mean, obviously it was his decision at that time. But for anyone that's, on the fence, this is the final solution. So I always talk about mental health at the end of the program.
Yep.
Do your best that you can, help each other, take care of yourself. You got to take care of your own mental health. But if you are having trouble and need to speak to someone, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24 hours a day. It's in English, Spanish, etc. It's 1-800-273-8255. And I think it's important the professor brought that up, that we maybe put that out there again this week, because it's been a couple months since we put it up, I believe.
Yeah, it has. It's good to have access to that.
Yes.
If you are struggling with something and need somebody to talk to, please call this number or reach out to your doctor or priest or whoever you speak to. I don't want to take away from Don Kernoodle's career. I mean, obviously they said he died right after a doctor's visit. I can only imagine what kind of news could come ahead of that. But, I just want to hit a couple things real quick on his career. He was the NWA Canadian Television Champion one time. Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. He was the Tag Team Champion twice with Private Jim Nelson. The NWA World Six-Man Tag Team Champion one time with Ivan and Nikita Koloff.
Yep.
The NWA World Tag Team Champion 3 times with Sergeant Slaughter, Bob Orton, and Ivan Koloff one time each. And down in Puerto Rico, he was the WWC Heavyweight Champion once and the WWC Television Champion twice.
Right on, man. Right on. And folks, sorry about the weird segue. Jeremy just got me while ago on that. So anyway, thanks for letting me just pitch my books in there to get me off.
Yeah.
I set for a second.
I made an Ole Dick joke right in the middle of a tribute to a passed away guy. It was a weird spot.
Oh man. Anyway, let's get back to 1986.
Yes, sir.
I'll go through some sports and you go through some TV shows. How's that?
That sounds good.
1986, man. That was the in Major League Baseball. That was the New York Mets won the World Series that year. NFL. The Bears.
The Bears.
Yeah, of course. NBA with the Celtics. And then NCAA, man. One of my favorite all-time teams. The Louisville Cardinals, man. Denny Crum coached that team. They had won in 1980 and 1983 and again in 1986. And the thing about that, 1983 team and 86 team, one of the best players from this area of all time, his name's Jeff Hall, 16th regional player. He was up for Mr. Basketball that year. I had played basketball against Jeff since the 7th grade. He went to a different school than I did. And he turned out to be a hell of a player, but the thing is, after high school, he got a scholarship to the University of Louisville, and he played for the Cardinals. And us being the same age, the class of 82, so in 83, he's on the NCAA championship team as a freshman, and then he comes back as a senior, and he got 2 NCAA championship rings, and not a lot of people I know going around this world with 2 of those, but I happen to know the man personally, and I was a big fan of Louisville way back when anyway, and so to see someone as a young man like that, because I played a couple years of college ball myself for a JUCO, I was really happy for the guy. Of course, I was happy for Louisville Cardinals too. So, that's just something I wanted to, that's why I put that out there. They beat Duke also. Up in this area of the country, a lot of people, they're big blue fans, a lot of Kentucky Wildcats. I'm one of the rare ones. There's a handful of us that like the Louisville Cardinals more. Most of us, not me, I'm not a big Duke fan, but most people up here aren't North Carolina fans either. So that's kind of the rivalries of Kentucky or Duke and North Carolina. Of course, the great in-state battle of Louisville and Kentucky during football and basketball. But hell with it, I'm going to cheer for the Louisville Cardinals anyway, just to piss people off.
Well,
So anyway, what was on TV back in 1986, Jeremy?
Well, so I went and pulled down. Bobby, normally when I do these, I only go for like 2, 3, maybe 4 spots. This one I had to stretch a little further to get to something interesting I wanted to talk about. But the number 1 show on TV in 1986 was The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Followed at number 2 by Family Ties. Number 3, Cheers. What, with the benefit of hindsight, might be one of the best written sitcoms ever,
I agree. I watched that, it's been several years back. I watched probably the first 2 seasons, and man, I was like, there was some really good writing on there. Very good writing. I agree.
Yeah. Number 4 was Murder, She Wrote. I often wonder if Angela Lansbury's character was the actual murderer and then covered it up with her detective act.
Could have been, just like Carl Malden was stealing all those damn checks. He was always there, wasn't he?
I was always there, yeah,
always
exactly.
There. So anyway,
number 5, The Golden Girls. Now, surprisingly, when my ex-wife worked for the Santa Cruz AIDS Project, I found out the Golden Girls had a huge gay male following, which I had never known or suspected, which I just always cracks me up to go back and think about that, for some fucking reason or another. Number 6 was 60 Minutes. Was that the longest running TV show now ever, I guess?
Yeah, I think so. It takes me like an hour and a half to watch it, but
yeah, I slowed down a bit in my older age, that's for sure. Number 7. Now, this is the reason I had to stretch so far to get here. Okay, Bobby?
Yes.
Number 7 was Night Court. A show I had often forgot about, but I used to really enjoy it when it was on. But, recently a songwriter, named Jim Steinman passed away. And Jim Steinman wrote Bat Out of Hell, one of the biggest albums, I believe, in rock history, right?
Yep.
Performed by Meatloaf. Now, in the 2nd season of Night Court, before Marky Post joined, there was a woman named Ellen Foley who played Billy Young. Now, Ellen Foley, if you ever go back and watch the videos that were made for Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, Bat Out of Hell, 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad, and Hot Summer Nights, Ellen Foley was that girl in the tank top and white pants with the curly black hair who sang backup for with Meatloaf on that, or sang co-lead, I guess.
Yeah. Paradise but a Dashboard Lights bill. They just go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
She's there like that black curly hair, that tank top, those white pants, and they're just back and forth with each other. And Meatloaf said that his hair's stringy. He's worked it up, man, and they're just going. It's some good chemistry, man, during a song of a video. The video matched the song and vice versa when they done that. It was just really good chemistry there, man.
Oh, it's fantastic.
They're smoking hot, man.
Yeah, their on stage chemistry is great. I remember that there's that first shot when Meatloaf is singing and her part is coming up and she drags the microphone so she's up next to him for her bit. The timing was superb. Her face, just the faces she makes, like when he first says, "Let me sleep on it," and she turns her head away to the camera and just mouths, "Let me sleep on it." You know? Yeah, that's some great stuff. So yeah, I had to stretch a little bit to get there, but Jim Steinman was a fantastic songwriter. I mean, he wrote fucking operas with rock instrumentation is what he did. It's probably, I don't know that we will ever see a songwriter like him again. But Ellen Foley was smoking hot in those videos, and I don't know if she actually sang those parts on the album or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
But
she was in the video, though.
But she was in the video, and that's what we were shooting for there.
Yeah. 3 more finished up the top 10 there.
So then we go to Growing Pains at number 8. Number 9 was Moonlighting, which had a great first season and then kind of shit the bed.
Yeah.
And number 10 is Who's the Boss? And that's where we got Alyssa Milano from.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. That's a pretty good little series, man.
It was all right. Yeah, it was funny. I mean, it was Tony Danza being goofy, but, that's what he did,
Yeah, and some of those characters, I had liked him from Taxi, and, of course, then Mona from...
she was great,
Soap, I think.
Yeah.
So pretty good. Maybe Fernwood Tonight or Soap. One of them two. She was on.
No,
Soap,
she was on Soap.
Soap. That's what it was. Okay, I thought so. Mona.
Yeah, she played one of the two sisters on there.
Yeah. All right, movies. I know we both got a couple favorites from this time period. You listed the top 3 money movies there. I threw out a couple more to you. So Top Gun, Crocodile Dundee, and this was one of my favorites, Jeremy. Ferris Bueller's Day Off was pretty good, but I'm going to stick with Platoon is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I knew it come out in 86, and I just really enjoy that movie. It's just I think it gave a very, very, Oliver Stone done a very, very realistic look at the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Through Charlie Sheen's young cherry eyes, Yeah. And then you got the 2 sergeants, man, just a lot of good characters. A lot of young actors were in that movie that become future stars, leading men and stuff from that movie. Just one of my favorites. And I know you got a couple more that you'd like to mention, or one in particular, I'm sure.
Well, there's one in here. Now, for me, this is a big movie. I don't know where it falls on the list, but Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, came out that year, and that's the one where people, like, you tell them what it's about, and you're like, wait, time-traveling whales. And then people watching like, fuck, that was actually a really good movie. It's, I believe, still the highest grossing Star Trek movie they ever made.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I believe it is. And around the world, they actually took down the references to it being the 4th movie because Star Trek wasn't like a worldwide thing. So they just tried to let it look like a standalone sci-fi movie in other parts of the world.
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
It was great. It's Nicholas Meyer came back to work on this, did some great work on the script. It was actually Harv Bennett, Nicholas Myers, each wrote different parts of the movie and then put them together. It's just really good. The characters played off each other well. You don't have to know anything about Star Trek to appreciate it. And it takes place in San Francisco and Monterey for the most part.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I can see where I could play worldwide if you took that off of there, even if you weren't a fan. I could see that.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. All right, for what the fans probably came for, let's talk some wrestling. How about that? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we're going to talk about some champions in professional wrestling of 1986. And Professor's one known for his voice, not me, so forgive me for that outburst. We're going to talk about some major events and some dates. Just some good old pro wrestling that we like to talk about. We're champions.
Real quick as we get into this is something Nate threw at us last week.
Yeah.
And he said, it's like a ton of stuff happened that year. And then, Bobby, as we've done some looking at this, a ton of stuff happened in 1986.
Yeah, sure did, man.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff.
We're going to miss some things here, guys. It's just because we've got a time limit and so much happened. But, Bobby, why don't you tell us about the NWA Championship in 1986?
Dusty Rhodes briefly interrupted Ric Flair's reign as world champion in 1986, man.
Yeah, I think for what, it was like 1 or 2 months, right?
Yes. Yeah, something like that.
It was a real short period of time that Dusty interrupted that. Hulk Hogan, of course, was the uninterrupted, undisputed, and all-time champion of the WWF that year.
Yep, absolutely. Stan Hansen was stripped of the AWA World title, and it was given to Nick Bockwinkel. Now, I know it's not on our notes, but that AWA title at Stan Hansen we went into detail with on an episode. That was the belt that accidentally, when he was out riding his tractor, if I'm not mistaken, didn't it fall off of his waist and get ran over about 3 or 4 times?
Well, yeah, he was out running a tractor with his title belt on, as one does, and it fell off. He ran over it on accident, backed up to see what happened, and then went over it again. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then something you're more familiar with is the UWF days. Tell us on that one. Who won there?
So Terry Gordy defeated Hacksaw Jim Duggan in a tournament to crown the first UWF Heavyweight World Champion. But later in 1986, I guess Terry was injured and he forfeited the title to the One Man Gang.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Nothing unusual there, really, with some of those names, really. Nope. A lot of big stars, obviously. Nothing really sticks out other than we knew probably Hogan champion not throughout that entire year. That wasn't going to change. Anyway, some major events, some unclear dates, but we'll go through these and just kind of talk hit and miss of what we want to talk about. Jody Hamilton established the Deep South Wrestling in Georgia. What else took place, Jeremy?
Well, the Japanese... Okay, so the UWF is kind of like a hinky title because there was a UWF in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Then Cowboy Bill Watts never trademarked it here in the States. So a few years after that folded, Herb Abrams formed another UWF in L.A.
Mm-hmm. There was one in Florida when I was breaking in, actually.
Yeah, that would not surprise. It's a great name, Universal Wrestling Federation. I mean, it's but the Japanese one dissolved after Satoru Sayama took issue with the outcome of a match against Akira Maeda. And they closed that promotion down, and the majority of the people there at the UWF in Japan headed to New Japan.
Yeah.
So it was the dissolution of one major federation and then a bumping up of New Japan again.
And they eventually, there was in late 88, maybe I think early 80, might have been 89. There was another UWF that was a shoot group that Carl Gotch was involved with over Japan.
Yeah, I think that had something to do. I think that had something to do with the fall apart of this.
Yeah,
and I believe this UWF it was an invasion angle, is how they brought it into New Japan, and that was the birth of the idea behind the NWO, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tuesday Night Titans, the WWF talk show parody, ceased airing. That was always pretty funny, actually.
That was a fun show, yeah.
Lord Alfred Hayes was one that was pretty witty, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was like the Ed McMahon role.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure, yeah. Pretty good stuff there. Matt Mania. What's that there, Jeremy?
Well, Matt Mania was the first successful pro wrestling arcade game that came out.
Right up your alley, probably.
Yeah, I was that age. Let's see, in 86, I was 12 and 13. Okay. So, right up my alley. I remember there was an arcade a few blocks away, and this was one of the main games there. And the guys in the game were like knockoffs of real wrestlers, but you played like Dynamite Tommy. You had to defeat 5 people, win the championship, and then defeat those 5 again to maintain your championship to win the game.
Yeah, I don't recall that one, to be honest with you. Was it on Nintendo also, or was it just an arcade game?
I think it was just an arcade game. I don't remember a home version of it.
Okay, I was just curious, because I was a big pinball guy, and I could play foosball and pool, but not very good. I enjoyed them, but I was going to say ping pong. Pinball I was pretty good at, but some of those games like Centipede and asteroids and stuff, I was okay at those. Galaxian or whatever. But I was always a pinball guy. So maybe our arcade, we had a couple of them here in town. Maybe they had Map Mania, but I didn't play it. I don't recall playing it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'd have went to the pinball machines.
No, that's
just me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I just thought it was interesting because from there we go on to like the WrestleMania game and other games like start coming out that make a bigger deal out of pro wrestling, and it's just kind of an interesting aside,
Speaking of games, I got to be in a game. I did caption motion for EA Sports up in Vancouver. I was in the first wrestling game that EA Sports put out. It was called Mayhem. Had Goldberg on the front. And my character was one of the 60 characters involved in the game, and that was pretty cool. Myself and Bobby Eaton, Lash LaRue, and Colonel Buddy Lee Parker went up and shot that motion capture for EA Sports in Vancouver, one of your favorite places.
Oh, yeah.
I got to stay up there for about 25 days or so, man. It was really nice. October is cold and rainy, but I still enjoyed it, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Still enjoyed it. Treated us really, really good, and got to be in that game. So that was cool, man. Got a couple royalty checks out of it.
So Bobby, when you did that, I'm assuming you did, more than just your own moves, right?
Yeah, well, it was between the four of us. We did. There's over 600 moves in that. So yeah, we did. They had a really nice ring built. They were working on the new EA Sports Arena at the time. We were in a big, like a big warehouse, arena turned warehouse, but they were actually building their own. For EA Sports, so this was something they was leasing. But yeah, they had a real nice ring out in this building, and you had to wear your targets or your stickers, and the motion capture picks up everything. And yeah, between us four, they brought in Ted DiBiase for technical advice about once a week. He came in for technical assistance on things. They brought in, they was going to bring in a Mexican wrestler for the high flying stuff, but they ended up sending one of the bigger Mexicans up here. He only stayed a couple days. Can't remember his name now, but we had a stunt man. By the end of the time, because we're working every day, it was like a union job for the crew to film that.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, we had to use a huge crash mat out in the middle of the ring to soften some of those bumps, man. And then also we had a 135-pound stunt man that was on a guide wire. And we had to, we could move him around pretty much. And once we got through everything, we went back. Anything that was missed, we could just put him on that wire and, do this and do that. For example, two people pulled the ring ropes down, and I stepped over them, and that was like Kevin Nash's thing, something like that.
Gotcha.
Little things like that. Just so yeah, the lockups to power bombs. The power bombs off the top rope, they become to where we had to no reason to kill someone doing a motion capture. So the guy's on a wire, and we pick the guide wire picks him up. Take them out, lay them gently down on a crash mat out in the middle,
Yeah.
We all started off full of piss and vinegar, ready to shoot this thing. But by day 14 days into it, we was all beat the hell up, taking all the bumps.
Yeah.
But if you notice, too, Bobby Eaton and myself at that time, we were pretty much the same size. And then we did some of the bigger man stuff. And then Lash and Buddy Lee were kind of a few inches shorter than us, a few pounds lighter. They did some of the lighter stuff. Now, it's not to say we all didn't interact with each other, but they had two taller guys with two shorter guys. And so they had a good, it stretched out the motion capture so they could condense it or make you a 7-footer,
Yeah.
It's really fun, man. It's a good learning experience. And like I said, a good paycheck. But anyway, that's neither here or there. Hell, I think you can find that on eBay for like a penny, and then they charge like $4.99 shipping, so you can probably get it for $5. So my royalties are ran out on it.
Hey, so did you get to do any moves in that you had always wanted to try out, or was that just...
No, we, best I recall, we just stuck with, just based, we done crazy stuff, just like you would see in a normal game, in a normal match.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything too crazy. like I said, power bomb off the top rope or something. Or I wasn't going to go up there and do a 450 or anything. But if you got a guy on a wire landing on a crash mat, fuck, let him do it.
Exactly.
So, I didn't have any desire to do a shooting star press or a 450 off the top rope.
Yeah.
So,
well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and you didn't. The good thing was too, you didn't have to take had a dummy there. So if you didn't have to take a lot of bumps, laying down, if someone fucked up coming off the top rope on you, you had a dummy laying there with the targets on them, for motion capture, so you could, pretty much stiff it if you needed to, So it wasn't Bobby Eaton down there taking, me coming off the top rope and splashing them or something, you know. So, yeah. Anyway, that's behind the scenes stuff. Let's move on to January of 1986. We got a couple of things here.
Okay.
Hulk Hogan begins using the Real American as his entrance theme. And he done that pretty much throughout his whole WWF run around 1993, and later in WWE appearances. The Real American. Man.
I think that's still the song you think of when you think of Hulk Hogan, if not
so,
Voodoo
man.
Child,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and that's the heel one. That's the heel Hogan, Hollywood Hogan.
Yeah, and let's see, that was Rick Derringer did that one, if I believe.
Rick Derringer.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then PNW Superstar Extravaganza. What's that, Professor?
All right, so that was a big show attempt by Portland Wrestling.
Okay.
I think Portland. I mean, they were still drawing a crowd, but I think they were trying to figure out if they could grow another step. So it's kind of what I think was probably like the first steps and their last steps, is this like making an attempt like everybody else was trying to do. It's like, how do we equal the WWF? You know? That's kind of where everybody was at this point.
Yeah. When I saw that, I looked up a little bit of it, but I was thinking at first it was a combination of just a big show, because I know they brought Piper back in on it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I had it down here on my document somewhere, but I can't pull it up right now for some reason. So I know they brought in quite a few people for that.
Oh yeah, well
the extravaganza.
Yeah, well, and for people who don't know anything about West Coast wrestling, Piper was a huge star. Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles. He was a fucking wild man that if you got a chance to bring him in, you brought him in, and you watch his antics in the ring back then, and he was a lunatic.
Yeah.
Completely just, probably one of the best heels I've ever seen in that small of a venue.
I had it pulled up here. Now it's coming back here. So, let's see. Yeah, Pacific Northwest. They had Ric Flair came in, Dusty came in, Tom Zink won the heavyweight NWA Pacific Northwest heavyweight title from Bobby Jaggers. The Road Warriors of Magnum TA defeated Ivan Nikita Koloff and Timothy Flowers in a 6-man tag. I knew I had some notes on that, Jeremy, just so you know. So my bad, man.
Yeah,
I couldn't pull them up.
I had them down, and then I just, I didn't even think to include them for some reason.
That's okay.
Yeah, but I think
some of the bigger shows here we're going to talk about that I really, I got some more notes on too, more so than that show as we go on. Let's jump to February of 1986.
All right.
Take us from there.
Well, in February of 86, WCCW withdraws from the NWA and forms the WCWA, the World Class Wrestling Association. They elevate their U.S. title to a world title. And decide to launch out on their own, basically. Mm-hmm. At this point, that looked like a great idea, I'm sure, because they were still really freaking hot,
Yeah. That was probably the right move for them at that time.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, everybody else was doing it, so why wouldn't you,
Yeah.
TBS airs Superstars on the Superstation. It was their first primetime wrestling event. So I imagine this was probably trying to match Saturday night's main event kind of thing.
Right.
Trying to get into that kind of time frame and audience and market. One I forgot to put down more notes about was the NWA Battle of the Belts 2. I believe every match on there was a championship match, and some were champion versus champion, if I remember right.
Was that the one from Tampa?
I think so, yeah.
So we watched those earlier this year during the pandemic. I watched, you turned me on to the first one, and ended up watching the second one. I think they both were in Tampa.
Yeah, I think they both were.
Every the matches were championship matches, yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was like you had, I can't remember if it was one or two, but you'd have like Harley Race versus Nick Bockwinkel was on the card, and yeah, it was all sorts of crazy stuff. And of course, also in February of '86, Saturday Night's main event number 5. There were a few Saturday Night's main events in 1986, and they were, I believe, in the same time slot as what would have been Saturday Night Live, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And drawing huge numbers back when you could still do that on broadcast TV. Mm-hmm. Of course, also in February of this year, Gino passed away. Gino Hernandez at 28 years old.
Yeah, we had talked about Gino, and he went out in style, man. Tell me that again. What do you have? Two Magnums?
He had 2 Magnums of Dom Perignon.
Okay.
His American Express gold card or whatever, the top line.
American Express, but man, woo.
Yeah, and then somebody said he had a bag of Coke on him too, but I don't know if that was just, I don't know if that's just window dressing or if that was legit, but you have to imagine if Gino's friends were nearby and they knew Gino, they'd fucking get a bag of Coke in there to him somehow.
Yeah.
Take this to the
not making light of that, but we done a big special on Gino as one of our top favorite heels.
Yep.
So anyway, and plus they've got the Dark Side of the Ring on that as well, but we just wanted to bring it up again. Also another death that year as brought up was Nick Bockwinkel's dad, Warren Bockwinkel, died of Alzheimer's complications at the age of 74.
Right, and of course, not too much longer away from this, Nick Bockwinkel would die of Alzheimer's complications as well.
Yeah.
Sadly. Really sad.
Oh, man. Let's jump down here to April.
Yes, sir.
A couple of things I want to talk about. The Crockett Cup. The Road Warriors won over Ronnie Garvin and Magnum TA. And I have got notes on the Crockett Cup there. I just am amazed at some of the people that were on that. I'm going to give you just a couple results here and there, okay?
Yeah.
Mark Youngblood and Wahoo McDaniel defeated Bobby Jaggers and Mike Miller. The Batten twins, I knew Brad and Bart. I knew them quite well. But Nelson Royal and Sam Houston defeated them. Jimmy Valiant and Manny Fernandez. Now, what a tag team right there, man. They defeated Baron Von Raschke and the Barbarian with Paul Jones and Shaska Watley. I'm telling you, we'll have to do something about Pez Watley one day, man. One of my favorite all-time people. We'll have to talk about him one day.
Yeah, we should make room for him. Yeah.
But yeah, that team of Jimmy Valiant, Man Fernandez, that's a pretty good one, man. That's got a tough guy and a whole different character there,
Yeah.
Steve Williams and Terry Taylor defeated Dundee and my man Buddy Landell. So you can see some top talent went to this thing, man. The Sheep Herders, Butch and Luke, with Jack Victory, defeated Chavo and Hector Guerrero. The Fantastics, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers, defeated a fabulous one, Stan Lane and Steve Kern. Buzz Sawyer and Rick Steiner, what a fucking tag team they must have been, man. They defeated Coco Ware and the Italian Stallion. Black Bart and Jimmy Garvin with Precious defeated Brett Sawyer and David Patterson. The Midnight Express, you can hear their music right now, man. Bobby and Dennis, with Jimmy Cornette, of course. They defeated Nelson Royal and Sam Houston. So you can see where this is going to. Magnum TA and Ronnie Garvin defeated Buzz Sawyer and Rick Steiner. So you used to have a hell of a match, I'd imagine, of just guys getting there and beating the hell out of each other.
Oh, yeah.
The Road Warriors, again with Ellering, they beat Youngblood and McDaniel. The Russians, Ivan and Nikita, they beat Jimmy Valiant and Manny. Williams and Taylor defeated Dino Bravo and Rick Martel. Now, some of these guys had buys earlier, too, is why I didn't read their names earlier. Some got some buys. Back to the Sheep Herders, they defeated the Rock and Roll Express by DQ. The Fantastics beat this team. And listen to this. The Fantastics beat Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard with J.J. Dillon.
Holy smokes.
Man, that's upset.
Yeah.
Giant Baba and Tiger Mask defeated Black Bart and Jimmy Garvin. Here come the Road Warriors again, defeat the Midnight Express by DQ. Williams and Taylor beat the Russians. End of a time limit draw. The Fantastics and Sheep Herders ended in a double DQ. Magnum and Garvin defeated Baba and Tiger Mask. Then there's a couple singles matches here that wasn't part of the tournament, and that is Jim Duggan defeated Dick Slater. Ric Flair defeated Dusty Rhodes with Baby Doll by DQ. And then the main was the Road Warriors, Animal and Hawk Whip Allen defeating Magnum TA and Ronnie Garvin. That's just a rundown of what kind of show that was. That's a lot for 1986 right there.
Yeah, names, that's a lot going on.
Excuse me for going through all those names, but I really wanted to just to let our fans know, man, how many people just from that just glorified superstars, man. Just unreal talent back in the day, man. Go ahead and take over. I've talked for a minute there, Jeremy.
Oh, sure. Let's see. Get that out there. Oh, yeah. So from there, we're going to go. Okay, so I'm going to have to do a couple streams of consciousness as we do this here.
Please do.
The AWA, of course, many of our listeners should be familiar with the Wrestle Rock Rumble, the rap, quote unquote, song they did to promote this. But let me go through the card and the results real quick for this one. Yes. Okay. Brad Rangans defeats Boris Zukov. This is, they had a Little People's match. Little Mr. T and Cowboy Lane defeat Lord Littlebrook and Little Tokyo. Colonel De Beers defeats Wahoo McDaniel by disqualification. There was some race baity shit going into that one. Yeah. Buddy Rose and Doug Summers defeat the Midnight Rockers. I've actually seen this match, and I am always amazed by how agile Buddy Rose was, even when he was at the 300-pound blubbery mark.
Man, he wasn't he?
Yeah, just how that fucker could move with that weight was amazing.
Mean 217.
Yep. Tiger Mask defeats Buck Zumhoff. I believe this was Tiger Mask 2, actually, but I'm not 100%. Okay. Wyndham and Rotunda defeat the Fabulous Ones, Stan Lane and Steve Kern. Harley Race versus Rick Martel, of course, champion versus champion, double count out. That wouldn't have been champion versus champion. That was just Harley Race shooting for the title. Okay. I always get confused about when they did the champion versus champions on those. Sherry Martel defeats Luna Vachon, Joyce Grable, Kat LaRue, Rose Devine, Taylor Thomas, a lady whose name I can never pronounce, Misty Blue Sims, Debbie Combs, and Candy Devine. And this is amazing because the guy calling this match could not give a fuck about what is happening. He gets everybody's names wrong. He's calling the wrong girls by the wrong names. It is just like astounding. Sergeant Slaughter defeats Kamala by disqualification. Scott Hall and Kurt Hennig defeat the Long Riders, which is Scott and Bill Irwin. Scott Ledoux defeats Larry Zbyszko by DQ. Nick Bockwinkel defeats Stan Hansen by DQ. What a bunch of bullshit finishes, man. Holy shit. Greg Gagne and Jimmy Snuka defeat King Kong Brody and the Barbarian. Of course, King Kong Brody is Bruiser Brody, but in the AWA market, nobody wanted to disrespect Dick the Bruiser, so King Kong was the name he went by. Vern Gagne defeats Sheik Adnan Al-Kaisi, and the Road Warriors with Paul Ellering defeat Michael Hayes and Jimmy Jam Garvin.
Man.
Great card with shit results is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And then we're going to roll right into the next one, which was a joint show of AWA and NWA called Rage in the Cage. And I'm going to go through the results on this one real quick just because we're already running. Colonel De Beers defeats Davey G. Mike Rotunda defeats Doug Summers. Bruiser Brody, King Kong Brody, defeats Steve O. The NWA United States Championship, Magnum defeats Baron Von Raschke. Wouldn't Baron have been like 70 at this point? AWA World Tag Team Championship, Scott Hall and Kurt Hennig versus Conga the Barbarian and Boris Zukov. Texas Death Match, Nick Bockwinkel defeats Larry Zbyszko. I am going to have to find that match, Bobby. I've never seen it, but now I want to. NWA National Championship, Tully defeats Ron Garvin via DQ. AWA World Heavyweight Champion, Stan Hansen defeats Leon White to retain. And then the Steel Cage match, Dusty Rhodes defeats Arn Anderson. And then the last Steel Cage match, the Road Warriors defeat the Koloffs.
Yeah. I'd like to find that match too.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one to find if anyone out there. Yeah.
That'd be an interesting match to check out. And then, of course, in April that year as well was WrestleMania 2.
Yeah. So you had to look at those 4 events, all those names. And, of course, WrestleMania 2, if everyone don't know, WWF, a lot of talent on the roster at that time. So we won't run down the results of that show.
No, we can assume most people have seen that, whereas I'm not sure that anybody's seen AWA events, you know.
Right. So we're moving on to May. Something very significant happens in May of 1986. Now, the way this is written is the way I kind of took it off the site that I got some information. I think you must have too. And it says here, Ric Flair forms the Four Horsemen with Tully Blanchard, Ole Anderson, Arn Anderson, and manager J.J. Dillon. And, of course, we've referenced this several times, and greatest fraction of wrestling, greatest stable in wrestling, greatest family of wrestling, I don't know what you want to call it, but the Four Horsemen, but really, we didn't pinpoint down an exact day, but now we've down to May of 86, and we've talked about this before, but when Arn gets done talking and just puts those 4 fingers up, that's the formation of the Four Horsemen. As in our fan base, is the way we believe it, right?
Well, yeah, I think you could swap the wording out to Arn Anderson accidentally creates the greatest wrestling faction in history.
That's just the way someone wrote that up there.
Yeah.
But, damn. May of 86, man, the Four Horsemen. Whew.
Yep, and
blazing trails in professional wrestling.
Yeah, and wrestling would never be the same again.
That's right, man. Yeah. That's right.
May of that year is also when Cowboy Bill Watts reorganized Mid-South into the Universal Wrestling Federation.
Yeah, you kind of brought that up, Nate, last week. You kind of wasn't sure what year that was when we come back to it, so glad you brought that up again.
Well, yeah, I figured after I botched that year so badly, because I knew it only existed for like 1, maybe 2 years, but I was even questioning that, you know.
Yeah, no, you got it right. You figured it out. I mean, that's the thing. We was just on there talking wrestling, you know, hell. So, Saturday night's main event number 6. Yep. And then, May 4th, WCWA, 3rd Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions.
I think this is the point where it just starts to become depressing.
Yeah. I think they're not filling the stadium up, and it's just a couple, I don't know. Let's jump down to next month, June of 1986, and here's part of it is right off the top of the bat. June 4th, Kerry Von Erich is severely injured in a motorcycle accident. Of course, it ended up amputating his leg.
Yep.
But at first they weren't going to. Is that correct? If we read that correctly.
I think
he didn't want people to know he had it amputated.
I think what it was like it had to be amputated. I don't think there was any way to save it, but they were not going to let anybody know. Now, Kerry wrestled the rest of his career with a prosthetic.
Right.
And still look like $1 million doing it.
He can still move and stuff. That's what's amazing is what kind of rehab he must have had to go through just to get up and walk again, and then to also wrestle at at the level he did wrestle. Yeah. That was my understanding when I said that about the amputation was I think they kayfabed it. The Von Erich's family kayfabed that so much that it wasn't like he lost. They didn't want to know he lost his foot. Is what it was. Even though it had been amputated.
Right.
And finally it come out. I think there's actually a couple stories. I think Pat Tanaka from Bad Company actually was in a match with them and pulled the leg off. It came off during the match.
Yeah, I have to imagine it happened. Yeah. Of course, poor fucking Kerry already had a bit of a drug problem. And of course, after this, I'm sure they were just shoveling pain pills at him.
Yeah. But he performed at that high level, man.
He did.
I mean, he did his rehabilitation for the leg, that rehab, and got out there and performed. I worked with them in either Toledo, Ohio, or Fort Wayne, Indiana, because I was there for a couple of days on TV, and one of them was against Al Matador, Tito Santana, and the next night was Kerry as the Texas Tornado, and I get those two mixed up, which town I was in. They were both like I said, back-to-back TVs for WWF back in the day. But it was an easy match, man. I knew his stuff. You got in a ring. I think Tex put something up there. It may actually be on the YouTube channel. But it's, I just hit the ring, done a couple things, and he spun around, fed into the discus punch, and boom, 1, 2, 3. Just the introduction was longer than anything. Texas Tornado coming to the ring with music was probably longer than our match actually. But he was all right. He was there doing his job. Honestly, no ego. I remember the referee saying, "Where's Kerry?" And I said, "He's right over there." And he was just coming down the hall, got right up there to gorilla position. Like I'd already introduced myself to him, but we didn't talk about anything. My finish, no problem. And we just got there and done a couple little things. Like I said, not much of anything. And boom, there it was. So no problems. Because to me, fucking the modern day warrior, man. 1 foot or not, that fucking guy had a body, man.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He was a huge over superstar,
Yeah, he was, look, he looked like $1 million. If I'm not mistaken, he's the one of the sons that Fritz really thought he was going to be able to hang the entire thing on, was going to be Kerry. He was going to be the star, Yeah. Okay, so Bobby, the next one in June of that year is the moment I began cheering for the heels.
Okay.
I remember watching this match. It was Big John Studd, King Kong Bundy versus Hulk Hogan and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
All right.
And Orndorff and Hogan, if I remember right, just kind of barely eked out the win in this one. And Hogan was beat to shit. And Orndorff has got his arm up. He's holding Hulk's arm up, and then he turns and he short arm clotheslines him. And then he puts him in that pile driver, what I would say is the best pile driver in the business.
Yeah, I argued there's a couple of them, but at that time, Paul Orndorff, he had that jumping pile driver too.
That son of a bitch looked like
into it.
Yeah, it looked like it would drive your head about 6 inches deep.
Yeah. But I remember that too, and then also just that whole lead up to that, man. There was tension. You could see it between Hogan and Orndorff, man. Like there's something going on between these two. Don't press Paul's buttons, basically.
Yeah.
And Hogan's like, don't get on my star. Don't tread on me, kind of thing. You're cutting over to my star time, and it was just that was a good time. It like you said, I know there's a little bit of age difference between us, and if you're going to make a switch to cheer for heels, that would have been a match to do it, Jeremy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Was a changeover, man, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And Heenan, Heenan was a big part of that, too, because at this point, Orndorff rejoins the Heenan family, which is what he had come out of.
Right.
Yeah. And Bobby Heenan had just kind of put a worm in my ear. He's like, fucking Hogan's a prima donna. He doesn't have any friends,
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, fuck that guy.
Oh, man. All right. Well, let's go. That's nothing. We're not going to go through July and August there. We'll just say it was a hot August night. We'll just leave it. We're going to jump to September the 13th. I found this interesting, and I know we're getting ready to wind down on things here. But on September 13th, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, or GLOW, program makes its debut in syndication in the United States and Canada, man. Was you a big fan of GLOW?
I was an early teenage boy. I loved GLOW.
There you go. The answer is yes.
Yeah, there's no two ways about it. Also, I remember during its second syndicated season, the guy who had originally organized GLOW had opened up a second promotion with a lot of the same girls called POW.
Yes.
And so at this point, there was a lot of wrestling in syndicated TV. And on a Saturday, you could watch wrestling for like 5 or 6 hours, and you got both GLOW and POW.
Wow.
And you could see like wrestling from all parts of the country that you normally wouldn't get, and it was a great time to be a wrestling fan. The chicks in GLOW and POW were fucking gorgeous. That's why they were hired. Some of them had moves, some of them didn't, and it didn't really matter.
Right, yeah. Now, are you a fan of the Netflix series GLOW?
I have seen the first 2 seasons. I did not watch the final season. I think the 2 lead girls in that show, that Allison Brie is one of the cutest girls on the planet. I mean, you know, beyond cute. She's just beautiful. And that, Perry Gilpin, the other one, the All-American girl, has probably one of the nicest bodies I have ever seen on an actress in my life.
I really enjoyed it. I like Mark Maron. I listened to a lot of his podcasts.
Yeah, he's funny in that show.
And I thought he done good in it, And for what it was worth, you know, I really enjoyed it. I probably enjoyed it more than I did the actual Glow Wrestling back in the day because I was a little bit older, and even though I watched Glow, obviously those girls are probably about my age, but I have no fucking chance. I'm not the teenage lust. You know what I'm saying? I'm past that point. Well, I ain't got a chance to fuck one of them. So, but no, they were all hot looking. But as an adult, when they put that series out, I got to really enjoy that more because I saw some guys that were helping with the show, with the choreography and all that. And I just, I took it in. You know?
Yeah, they had a great cast of people who were helping out.
Yes, absolutely. Chavo Guerrero Jr.
Yeah, I mean, they had a great bunch of guys. I kind of struggle, and this is going to sound stupid because of the show we do. I kind of struggle with shows that want to peel back the curtain too much.
Yeah.
Expose the language. And now, again, this is somebody who's not in the industry, but we do a show where we kayfabe about a quarter of the time and don't about 3/4 of the time. So, I'm as guilty of it as anybody, but it always strikes me as a little just like, oh, I don't like that.
Well, there was times, I agree with you. There was, and some of it they actually missed just a little bit.
Sure.
But, that's just the way it is,
Yeah.
They're going to change it to suit, the suit to draw numbers on TV.
Well, yeah,
streaming services.
Don't let facts get in the way of a good story, and that's especially important in movies and TV. Yeah.
Okay. Moving past that, let's go to October of '86. Man, I remember this too. What happened, Jeremy?
Well, Magnum. This is the car wreck that ends Magnum's career. I guess we can be glad it didn't kill him.
Yeah. I think he was 5 blocks from his house.
Oh, yeah. Well, they say that most lethal accidents happen within a quarter mile of your home.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if the roads were wet or what, but he was driving.
He said he was leaving there was a shoot interview on YouTube, and I think he was leaving like a Bennigan's restaurant, and it was like 5 blocks away, and it was a little bit slick out. It had been a slight mist, I think, in the early morning hours.
Yeah.
Well,
and he was driving a Corvette, and Corvettes fucking break loose over nothing.
Was it a Corvette or Porsche?
Oh, I thought it was a Vet. Okay, maybe I'll hold back on that. But I thought it was a Vet.
I don't need. I'm trying to think. I'm honestly, I'm drawing it's one of those two, and like you said, either one of those though, giving that little bit of power, that little bit of kick on some wet. Boom! It's going to go everywhere. It's slide assing everywhere.
It was a Porsche.
I thought it was. Wasn't trying to call you out on it. It's just like I just had recently seen, for whatever, a clip of him talking. It was a shoot interview, and he was talking about it. Here just in the last few weeks. It wasn't like I was out looking for it, but it's something that flashed up on my YouTube. Terrible, but he's made a life for himself. After that, he come back and does some announcing and try to stick around the business as much as he could, and he still makes appearances. I met him in Charlotte. The first time I wrestled Dan Severn at the Caroline's Memories Tour. They had several of the guys like Rip Hawk and So anyway, Magnum. I'm trying to think who all Corny and Sandy Scott brought in for that, but there's a lot of older guys at the time.
Yeah.
But Magnum come up to me. We spoke at the gimmick table, and it was a nice conversation. For someone that not know me, who he was. He just said, "Hey, I've heard really good things about you, Bobby. It's nice to meet you." He really put me over. And I guess because, he had seen me work in that area, or he's just been nice, seeing me on TV or whatever, just like I had him. It wasn't a long, in-depth conversation, but it was very nice to he may have just been, shaking my hand and says, "Nice to meet you. Heard good things about you just to be a professional." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then that's fine. You met Terry Allen and he was cool to you. I mean,
yeah, yeah. That was a cool thing.
Yeah, no, that's great no matter what. I mean, yeah, so, there were, let's see, Magnum, TA, I think is one of those, like, could have been losses along the lines of like a David Von Erich, because Magnum was going places.
Yeah, for sure.
Magnum's career was strapped to a fucking rocket ship and headed up. You know, I've heard different people refer to him as the Southern Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
You know, he was the guy that they were going to push, and then unfortunately this happened. I got to figure out why I thought that was a vet. I must be thinking of somebody else's accident.
No, that's all right. Thing was, man, he was he was a workhorse in and out of the ring. He got bigger and stronger and faster. I mean, he just kept improving. His mic skills just kept getting better and better. And then his in-ring performances were just kept getting better and better and better. And of course, that went along with guys that he got to work with along the way there.
Sure.
Wrestling number 2 all the way to Tully, man. When you're around a guy like that, you just have to listen what Tully tells you. Flair, the same thing. You know, if they're grooming you, man, you pay close attention to the small details, and everything else, the big stuff will come out, you know, and it did, man. He had it all. Like you said, the Hulk Hogan of the South, he could have probably been, you know, worldwide, given had this accident not happened.
Oh, you know what? I bet you they either did or would have loved him in Japan.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if he ever went to Japan or not.
Yeah, I would have to check because I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know for sure either.
But I bet you the Japanese audience would have fucking eaten him alive.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
They loved it.
Sure. Okay, so moving on.
Yep.
November, Texas All-Star Wrestling. Do you want to tell us about that? Because I put that up there for you, to be honest with you.
Oh, you know what? I've known. Yeah, give me a second, though. I got to go back and kind of refresh my memory.
Because you mentioned something about Southwest Championship Wrestling last week, too. But anyway, it's eventually sold to World Class Championship Wrestling. And I wasn't sure. I wasn't familiar with the Texas All-Star. I remember that, but I didn't know how the Southwest Championship Wrestling tied into it. Because I went from Texas All-Star to World Class Championship Wrestling in my mind. So I wasn't sure about that. Southwest
yeah, you know, Bobby,
Wrestling.
off the top of my head, and just because we're winding down on time, I don't remember a whole lot about them, but we can.
Yeah.
I'll look
That's
into
okay.
it more and kind of give it a rundown next week when we pick
that's
up.
Okay. I just, in my mind, I remember the Texas All-Star and then going to the World Class, but I couldn't. And I've seen Southwestern tapes on YouTube. They had them up for a while. I just can't remember that part being a part of it. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
And I know we're about out of time, man.
Yeah, because I want to say, like, the thing I read about Texas All-Star would have put it later than this, so I'm thinking of the wrong place. And I think it had something to do with Booker's eventual territory there in Houston. I can't remember. Yeah,
that's all right, man.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we've covered 1986 pretty well, man. Had a good little conversation about it. It's good to go back and visit these years sometimes. I think the next one we want to do is we're not settled on this for sure, but we're going to do one around the end of June, 1st of July, and we're going to do so it's going to be our July 4th special. And we're probably going to do 1976, the bicentennial year. So unless we come up with another year between now and next month, that's what we're going to. That was kind of our goal, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the plan.
I think
going
that's the
into
plan.
That. Yeah.
But in the meantime, we got some great shows lined up. You want to announce what's coming up next week, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, next week itself is going to be Vinnie Berry, the author of Lance by Chance, the book about Lance Armstrong. Mm-hmm. We have been meaning to get with Vinny for a couple weeks now. We just blew up our own schedules at one point.
Yep.
You know,
he was scheduled for 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And that's Mother's Day, I guess it was. So he is penciled in for Memorial Day weekend that we record on May 30th, if I'm not mistaken. And that'll air the following Tuesday. So unless something comes up, he'll be a part of our program next week. And that's Vinnie Berry. You can check him out on Twitter at Vinnie Berry. I said Vinnie Berry. Sorry about that. But also, you can catch me on Twitter at BobbyBlaze744. Follow the professor at The Geekish Cast, or check into the joint account on Twitter as well as on Facebook, and that is Bell to Bell Blaze. Professor, I'm going to wind down this and say, hey, man, it's great catching up with you. I hope you have a great week. And wrestling fans, this is Double B Bobby Blaze signing off to the professor, giving it back to you, my man.
Oh, yeah. Bobby, you know, I think we need to do before your corner, what is that? Your day coming up where you're going to be in the corner of Shane Storm.
Oh, yeah.
We need to get you a t-shirt that on the front says Arn's favorite enhancement talent. And on the back says Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze.
Okay, I can work on that, man.
I think we need to find a way to get you a t-shirt for that day that says that.
Okay.
You know, again, because we're going to ride that fucking horse till we get a cease and desist from Arn. Yeah.
That's right. Arn ain't her favorite enhancement talent.
I think we just say just Arn. Just Arn's
Just
favorite
Arn.
enhancement talent. Yeah.
There you go.
Because everybody knows who we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like people are going to be going like, oh, Arn Hefferman? Yeah, he's great. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us this week. We hope you enjoyed recapping as much of 1986 as we did. If there are things from that year we missed, please reach out on Twitter or however you would like to. Let us know what we forgot, what we left out. We'll address it in the next week or two as we go. In the meantime, everybody, for the late Tex Johnson, myself, Professor Jeremy Vilmur, and Double B, Arn's favorite enhancement talent, Bobby Blaze. Bye-bye, everybody.